Abraham Lincoln quoted, he said if he had 8 hours to cut down a tree, he would spend 7 of those hours sharpening his axe. One of the best presidents of all time, Abraham Lincoln, said that. Now, with that mentality, ask yourself as a player and as a parent or as a coach, if you had 2 hours to practice, how would you spend your time focusing on your strengths and your weaknesses? And I ask all my kids these questions, and they all say the same thing. They would say, well, I'm a great shooter, but I'm a bad ball handler, so I'm going to spend most of my time working on my ball handling. And then I would spend the last 15 minutes working on my shot because I'm already considered a good shooter. And I ask the parents the same thing, and they say, you know what, 99% I'm going to focus my time on my weaknesses because I need to get better on my weaknesses. And this brings to my conclusion on why so many kids fail in basketball in their life. See, it's a deception been going on from the beginning of parents and coaches and players not knowing what it takes to be a great basketball player or in any sport or on the job, whatever the case may be. It's because the deception is that we need to do better on our weaknesses so we can manage to survive. And that is a lie from the beginning. And I have the evidence to back it up. If you look at Shaquille O'Neal is the worst free throw shooter of all time. He struggles on the free throw line. But he is the most dominant player in all of basketball. And if you look at Eddie House was voted one year as the worst ball handler in the whole NBA. He's a guard. And he played countless years of the NBA because he could shoot the ball. Well, what does this have to do with Abraham Lincoln or practicing on your strengths and your weaknesses? It's simple. See, in basketball, coaches, the great coaches and GMs, they specifically go after people who has perfected something in the course of the game. Meaning, if I'm a GM in the NBA, I'm going to grab the best penetrator as a point guard. I'm going to grab the best shooter as a shooting guard. I would grab the most athletic small forward. I would grab the best power forward on the block, and I would grab a center who can rebound and defend. All these guys are perfection in a specific area. And I always use the same analogy. If there's two kids, one kid has an A and a C, another kid has two B's. They both has the same GPA. Which kids gets the job if they both apply for the same job? And once again, most parents, they say the kid with the two B's gets the job. But no, that's not true. The kid with the A, C gets the job because he or she has perfected something. See, if you want to build something like a basketball team or you want to build an empire, you are going to grab people who can do things to perfection. There's people who type 15 words per minute, which is horrible. But yet they CEOs and they're making a lot of money because they can do other things very well. So my message to parents and players is the way you train matters. I'm looking out here in Prince William County. It's a whole lot of talent in Prince William County, in Northern Virginia. I mean, it's a lot of talent. But a lot of these kids are not going to make it. They're just not. And the reason why they're not going to make it is because they don't know how to develop their talent. They focus. Nobody is great now. I'm talking about the youth. There's guys who can shoot the ball, but it's more like a B. They're a good shooter, but they're not an excellent shooter. But the ball handling is an F. So in a 2 hour practice, their parents and coaches will spend an hour and a half turning an F to a C. But the B never gets better. And then when they try out for a team, they don't make it. It's because they don't have an A. You need A's to make it. If you have an A, if you perfect something on a basketball court, you got a good chance of making it. In terms of, you can get a good chance of getting a scholarship, you got a good chance of being a professional basketball, but you got to have an A. And that's where the deception comes from. Stop focusing on your weaknesses. It's your strengths that's going to get you where you try to get. And I can go deeper into biblical principles. If you look at God and everybody he dealt with, two examples that pop in mind off the top is, if you look at Moses, who's greater than Moses? Honestly, nobody on this generation can compete with Moses. And God chose Moses to set the Israelites free. And Moses had a stuttering problem. Can't talk. Bad communicator. And God told Moses and gave him the biggest job ever in the history of the planet. Because God looked at Moses' A's. He knew that he was a man who had a zeal for God. He was very faithful. And he was bold. But his F's was he couldn't talk. He had a stuttering problem. And as you look at King David, one of the greatest guys that God has acknowledged himself. Jesus himself spoke highly of David. And David had many faults. He had many F's. He had a lustful spirit. He what did David do? David had an affair with a woman and got her pregnant, and because he didn't want the secret to come out, he put her husband on the front line on the battlefield so he could be murdered. This is King David. And God was very highly upset with him, but yet he still used him because David had an A. His heart was an A. He had a zeal for God. And God specifically said he was a man after his own heart. And so the point I'm trying to say is the deception is bad, but honestly, God uses our talents and what we do best to bless us. That don't mean you ignore your weaknesses, but it means that focus on turning your B's to an A and not your F's to a C, and you got a good chance. And collectively, that's why what I do in Guerrilla Basketball, we are very successful, not in terms of we develop players. It's because we focusing on kids' strengths. Last year, my girls' team, I had 4 honorable mention players. Not first team, not second team. I had 4 players who made honorable mention who received a full basketball scholarship. Full basketball scholarship within one summer, going from an honorable mention, and some will make first team our district this year and receive basketball scholarships. And it's not because I'm so good of a trainer and my brothers and myself that we just made their game so great. No, every child is great at something. Everybody, we all are. We are on this planet. We are supposed to live based on our talent and gifts. It's our talents that feed us. It's our gifts of being humble and helping everybody else that make us live day by day. So that's all I focus on. Every kid can do something extremely well on the basketball court. So we try to make that kid go from being good at something to the best at something. That is our mentality as a program. And I wish that other programs had the same mentality. And parents, please understand that everything you do matters. Your kid is great. Believe it. Believe in your child. Believe in your child. Believe in your child. But your kid must be developed the right way. focusing on what your child does the best and perfect it. If he or she can shoot the ball, perfect shooting. Meaning 2 hours, you practice for 2 hours, an hour and 40 minutes should be on making their kid become a good shooter to the best shooter. And I promise you, just like the NBA and any other high level, if you can do something that somebody else can't do, you can perfect something, you got a big chance. But overall, thank y'all for listening. This was a long video. I didn't expect this video to be this long. But the bottom line is, I'm rooting for all of y'all kids. AAU season is here. My rosters on both sides is pretty much completed. I'm probably going to pick up one boy and one more girl this week during the regionals. Have fun. Be blessed. AAU coaches and programs, I wish y'all the best of luck. By all means, get your kids these scholarships. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Focus on changing these kids' lives by allowing them to get this free money in college, and so they can leave college debt-free and have a great, successful life. Thank you.